Hello, guys. Welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. And today we're talking about the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot, relaunch situation. It's a Disney Channel show, but also Disney Plus. So I believe Disney Channel aired 2 episodes, and then Disney Plus said, "Hey, we're actually going to give you half the season, and here's like 9 episodes." So, did you watch Wizards of Waverly Place as a kid?
You
What's your
know,
background?
I didn't, which is interesting because it was about the right time. I know that I was growing up while it was showing. So this new reboot is Wizards. Wow, ooh, that's a tongue twister. This reboot is about wizards. I can
Wizards,
Wizard reboot.
Waverly. Yeah,
So
what
try
is it
saying
called?
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place.
Wizards Beyond
That's
Waverly Place.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, but try saying Wizard Wizards Reboot Waverly. Like it's that's a whole tongue
Wizards
twister.
reboot Waverly. Yeah, no, it
See,
definitely
right?
is for sure.
I
Yeah, no,
needed
I
to say
don't think I can do
reboot.
it.
There's a new tongue twister for all our nerds out there. So I grew up while Wizards of Waverly Place was airing, but I didn't really watch it. I knew of Selena Gomez. I knew of David Henrie, but I didn't ever really watch the series. I only watched so many shows at that time. Um but that particular show just for whatever reason didn't draw me in, which is hilarious because
It's very
I'm
your
me.
brand.
Wizards is on brand for me. And it may have been that it felt a little cheesy to me even at
You're
that
also
time.
4 years older than me, and I'm pretty sure Wizards came at a time when I was starting to get out of Disney Channel and all that, so that could be a
Yeah.
reason too.
I wonder, let me look up the first time. What about you? Did you watch it?
Yeah, it wasn't. I look. I was a big Hannah Montana fan. That was my show. I really enjoyed it. But
Mm.
I liked it. I watched it. I enjoyed the show. I think I actually liked the show more as the seasons went on because they had more serialized storytelling. I thought that was interesting. I think Selena Gomez
Mhm.
was obviously a good comedic actress and had a good ensemble. And I think that's something that's really interesting about Wizards in particular is that it's a cast that's actually stuck together. Like, it's Disney Channel. Who the hell is like talking to each other still like 20 years later? She's still friends with all of them. I mean, she's like Selena Gomez and she still like, yeah, I hang out with David Henrie and have dinner with him, or like I go out to a birthday party with whatever the person who plays Harper. I find that really fascinating that she's like, no, like most people with Disney channels, like that was the worst time of my life. And she's like, no, that was the best time of my life, at least on the show. I'm sure there's
Oh.
other celebrity things that happen, but she's like, no, that was like the best time, and I would never trade it for the world. So I find that really fascinating, and why Selena Gomez, who's producing, one of the biggest comedies with Only Murders, is doing something like a Disney Channel show. I think Amy paused a little bit, but yeah, I think she's
I
back
think
now.
am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
Yay. I think it's really interesting that you say that because when we watched that documentary, Quiet on Set, it definitely changes your perspective. And you go back and you look at shows
Sure.
like this and you go, oh my gosh, did Selena Gomez have trouble on set? Did David Henrie have trouble on set? Like, is this a secret bad set area as well? And it's really nice for me to hear that it wasn't. And, even when you have reboots
Again,
like
she had
this,
other stuff.
there
Like,
are
look,
times,
she's with Justin Bieber
yeah.
and all that other stuff. Like, so she's got her
Oh,
own
that's
things
right.
going on. But at least the show for her wasn't that.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear that because, like, sometimes when you look at reboots like this, you're like, oh, they just paid X actress a lot of money to come back. It's nice.
Amy paused a
But
little bit. It
in
wasn't nice. So
2007, which was,
you paused a little bit. So you said what was nice?
oh no. Oh, that it came in 2007, which
Yeah.
was right before I graduated high school. So
So that's probably why.
it would have been right at a point that wasn't good for me.
That's probably why you didn't watch it. Because I
So
think 2007, I was in seventh grade. So like, yeah, it was kind of the perfect timing of that type of show. And No, yeah, going back to the interesting part. So the reason they made this show was because her and David Henrie, she was like sitting, Selena Gomez was like having dinner with his family and him, and they'd been brainstorming this show for a long time. They're like, let's just try doing it, and that's how it happened. They were just like sitting together and having a meal, and they're like, let's try making this a reality. Sitting together having a meal, talking about what would happen to their characters, and they're like, oh, well, let's maybe try making that happen. Which I think is, pretty interesting.
So, what did you think about the reboot? What was your thought about the episode that we just? Spoiler alert, we only watched the first episode. What were your thoughts about watching the episode?
I liked it for the sake of Alex and Justin. I love because if you watch the show, it's like, wow, they haven't skipped a beat. Their chemistry is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The jokes that shouldn't land kind of land because they're good. They're good comedians. They have good comedic timing. But I also feel like it is very much built for this new audience. It's for people who have kids who are going to be watching it with their kids and be like, oh, I really like this show. Maybe you'll like it too. Like very Raven's Home. But the reason Raven Home succeeds outside of what this show is that Raven is the main character. You get to see Raven every week. I don't think Justin is as much of an interesting character as Alex. Like the reason this pilot worked somewhat for me was just to see them interact. I really like their chemistry. I want to see more of them. I want to learn more about their where they can go as siblings, and the kids were the least interesting part for me, but I'll say kudos to the kids. They're good at, they were solid enough actors, especially the girl. I thought she like landed the joke. She she had good charisma. So I was like, I've seen some of these other reboot shows, like they did a good job. So agreed. I stand by, if you are somebody with kids and you want to show them this, I think you're gonna have a really fun time watching it. But if you're an adult who just wants to watch like an adult version of Wizards of Waverly Place or an all ages version of it, I don't know if you need to watch this. I don't think you're getting enough character growth, but also something I really like about Wizards that I think this at least shows for these kids is it is going to be serialized. I believe it's the end of this episode where they're like, oh, the girl is going to be this, and that. And it's like a kid, they're showing that it's going to be a bit of a serialized show.
Yeah, they're like, there's a prophecy, by the way. She's the only one that can save the world. Okay, bye.
Right.
Like, that's actually really funny. It's really interesting because we don't have kids. We don't have families. So it would be logical for listeners or viewers on our YouTube page, which, by the way, you can find a recording of this and all of our technical errors on YouTube, and you can watch it live if you are a Patreon subscriber. But it's interesting that the two of us choose to talk about this and to watch it. And part of that was just the nostalgia factor. We're just curious. Part of it is spooky season. But
part of it's Selena Gomez. I just wanted to see what she was going to do. I like her, so I was like, oh, what's she going to do?
They're like, we can watch it. It is fun to kind of get back into this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's challenging to find new shows that are just chill to watch. And there's so much children's television and all kinds of stuff. And I'll be honest, sometimes as a, almost 34-year-old adult, sometimes it's really nice to just watch a kind of show that you turn your brain off and you're like, oh my God, this is not made for me. And yet at the same time, I kind of enjoy it. So I'm glad that we chose to watch this. I actually was the one who was like, really? We're going to watch the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot? Literally 0% my jam. And yet I found myself jamming to this episode. I actually agree. I loved the story between Alex and her brother. I loved getting a chance to see that on screen. I loved the beginning of it had a lot of like comedic beat, laugh track, comedic beat, laugh track. But then there was that moment where they were sitting on the couch and they were actually talking about some pretty real stuff. Like, hey, I got fired from my job. Why would I want to do that again? Clearly there's history there. We're going to learn about it. I want to know why he was fired from his job. Apparently he's very good at it.
I think if I remember correctly, that was from the original show that happened.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, Wizards actually, again, did I watch every single episode? No. But as the show went on, they had like arcs. They had things that happened in the show. Like post season 1, they actually did like Monster Hunt. Like he was a monster hunter, and I think they make a joke about it. There's other characters that show up. Like they have like a plot.
Rachel, who's in the chat, because she's one of our most faithful Patreon subscribers. Hi, Rachel. She brings up a good point. Rachel says, I've not watched much of the original show, but this episode made me want to. And I will agree with that. I think that
I recommend you do
intrigued
it.
me enough. That not only would I want to keep watching more, because, again, I could use something that just lets me turn my brain off a little bit, but I actually enjoyed this. I'm also looking at it from a theatrical acting perspective. I'm really curious to watch these child actors grow. I know that sounds really interesting, but like from an exterior, like almost researchy perspective, I will agree. I think that the girl whose name I totally had pulled up on my phone and now I lost it, was exceptional.
She was really good. I liked her a lot.
Really good. And what she was really good at was her pacing and the way she picked up her lines. She took the air out of the sentence. There's this phrase that like we'll use in theater where you need to take the air out, and that's where I deliver line A, then I deliver line B, and line B should follow line A. When you're talking in a normal conversation, you don't say da-da-da-da-da, line A, and the next person doesn't pause and wait for dramatic effect to tell you line B. The conversation is back to back to back to back. So when you say take the air out, you're taking that space between these phrases or these pauses or these conversations out, because when you put too much air in, it feels unnatural. So she was really good about getting the air out of her sentences. She picked up her cues. She was right on it. She was doing really, really well. The two younger gentlemen, I'm really excited.
I think they have a little bit more. Yeah, I was going to say, I think they have more to
stagnation.
Grow. Yeah.
They're a little stagnant. They're a little, I said my line. And it's not bad because that's how you grow. And they're also clearly learning, and I really love that. I am intrigued and fascinated by watching how kid actors grow, and a lot of that is because I've had the privilege of working with a lot of kid actors recently in a lot of the theater I'm doing, and that has been really fun for me to watch, because it just goes to show, like, you can start picking up on, oh, that's a kid actor who's got really good instincts. This one I had to coach, but this one, they've got those instincts, and a lot of those are instincts, and a lot of it can be taught.
So and they have really decent chemistry with each other as well, which I think helps. Like the older boy and her, but again, I also think it's just that she is a really good actress. Also, again, I'll compare it to Raven's Home. I watched a few episodes of the show, but I love That's a Raven. I think we all love That's a Raven. I think, one of the negatives I was saying is that, Alex is not in this, so that sucks because, like, I want to see an Alex show. But I think something that's a detriment to That's a Raven is it's a Raven show. So it's just Raven doing Raven things, and those kids don't get to shine. And I think the opposite here, I think Justin, that character is strong enough to be a supporting character, right? He's strong enough to be like, cool, he's the foot of that old show. But he is not Alex where you're like, I just want to watch her. I just want to watch her. Mm-hmm. Where the kids actually can have a chance to have arcs of their own and grow as actors.
And so I finally pulled up the article because I'm like, I know their names and we just keep saying the kids. So the sons are Roman and Milo. And then the gal is Billy. And who, by the way, as Rachel says, has to, it's funny because I'm like, this is totally Alex's adopted kid, right? But I do kind of also like the fact that there's the reality that she's not, that Alex has just noted that, like, this is a very special person who she's registering maybe isn't getting the growth opportunities that she needs. And it's kind of a cool story, actually, turning to family and saying, hey, this is someone who needs help. I think not only can you help this person, but subconsciously they may help you. Like,
yeah, and they tie into her arc a lot too. I was gonna say, like, if you watch Wizards of Waverly Place, Alex is the one no one because okay, you probably don't know this portion of Wizards, but
go for it.
The original show is about a blended family where the dad owns a sandwich shop, but he used to be a wizard because the family, you can only pick one wizard out of the children. So the
Really?
whole show is about all three of them trying to be the family wizard. And Justin is obviously the obvious
Oh.
choice, and she ends up becoming the family wizard instead, and because she's not the obvious choice. But you see the journey, blah blah blah, which is interesting
Yeah.
because he does have magic in this in this show, which it takes away from the continuity of the previous of someone. There's only one
Those
person
who
allowed to have the
can't
magic.
do teach.
Exactly. And they touch upon that in the old show too. But I think that's really interesting, and we get to see obviously that growth. And it was interesting to see them as adults, because I think sometimes with these shows you're like, oh, it's so weird to see them as adults. It doesn't work, but because they're family, I think it was just interesting. It's like, hey, the aunt's just kind of stopping by, and so happens to dropping off this other kid. I think because it's Selena Gomez, and because it was, again, something that she felt very close to, you could kind of tell the love behind it. And I think that's why this works better than a lot of these other shows do. Because I think a lot of these other shows, you could go on a field day of why Ned's Declassified should never be a reboot. But a lot of these people,
please.
exactly.
Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide is best. Don't touch it. Nobody touch it.
Yeah, and a lot, and I feel like a lot of reasons the people make these reboots is because they want the money, or they're just like, oh, I guess it'd be fun to do it. And I think here it really did feel like there's a little heart behind it. It felt like it didn't feel like they just wanted the money. It really did feel like, no, we want to tell this project because we love this project, and I want to try doing this for multiple generations. And I think that made the stand apart. I'm not saying Raven's Home didn't do that. I think Raven's Home to some degree did, but I just don't feel like that cast had as close of a knit as much as the Wizards cast. But again, I could be wrong. I obviously they've been friends, but I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel.
You can feel it. You can tell. There's that intuition that an audience,
especially between
has.
Justin and Alex, you could just see that they
100%.
like each other.
And and you can tell, again, quiet on set dulls kind of my sensation of, oh, I'm sure this is a really cool experience for kids. Like, they must be having the time of their life. Like, you definitely look at it through a different lens than I think we would have 10 years ago. But it does genuinely look like these kids are probably having a lot of fun on set. Like, the set itself is really cool. The whole funny jokes that they get to make, the over-the-top nature that they get to do, like, that looks like it's fun for them. And, yeah.
The special effects weren't that bad. You should be watching. You should watch the previous one. Compared to the other one, they weren't that bad for a sitcom on Disney Channel. Just saying.
When they opened the closet and this little puppet thing popped up, I was like, oh, are we not even trying to see? Like, are we doing bad CGI? Are we doing?
It looked so much better than what we've gotten before. I'm telling you.
My favorite was when the younger kid, Max, like, gets knocked out, and they're clearly carrying a doll. Like, that cracked, and there they put the doll on the bike, and then the next thing it's the real actor. That cracked me up, because that was like something. Such a high suspension of disbelief that it's actually entertaining to watch. Rachel in the chat mentions that Justin's actor Daniel Henrie is 34 and says he's 34 in this episode, and she looked it up, and he is actually the same age, which again, that's, that is, I'm almost 34, so I definitely relate. Now, am I married with kids yet?
Do you live in Staten Island?
No, apparently not. Although, can we, just for a moment, can we talk about the wife?
I thought she could have been stronger.
She was not great.
Which is interesting, Amy. And again, when you watch, and hopefully you watch the old show, everyone and their mom, or at least in my friend group, and from, I hope what everyone agrees with, the mom of Wizards of Waverly Place is like one of the best things about that show. She is so funny. She is great. We all love her. So it's interesting to see the mom here not be as great.
I think I would have liked more if I like the fact that, like, I think I would have appreciated more if his wife did know about Wizards and they actively chose to keep it from the kids. I don't know if I like the fact that now she's the only one who doesn't know, because then you're just going to get those classic hijinks of don't let mom see. But it is kind of an interesting dynamic. You want
to hear something even crazier? Because I did watch the next episode after, because it was on Disney Channel. I watched one. Okay. I thought it was going to be like a 2-part premiere, so I thought like Alex would show up in the second one. So I watched it. She's an investigative reporter. And does not know.
Supposed to be smart.
Yeah, she's supposed to be smart and an investigative reporter, and she still hasn't figured out like about her. And that's the part. That's another layer I didn't like. I agree. I didn't like that they didn't know. I think that didn't work. But also, it seemed like they find out pretty easily or quickly. So,
well, the kids did, because the wizard walked into their room. I also love that they were like, "Oh, look, a wizard, cool." Like, I mean, kids are more naturally gonna believe that kind of stuff. But anywho, overall, I think I weirdly enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I'm probably just gonna absentmindedly watch more.
yeah, it's an easy background show.
It's an easy watch. Did you ever read the Warriors cat book series when you were growing up? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a series called Warriors, and it's like there's like 60 books in this series. It's written by one author it's actually a pseudonym. 3 authors write under this one author name, so they turn out books like mad. But it's a YA series that I still read, caught up to this day, because you can read the whole book in one day. It's such a fast, easy read, and it's really cathartic to just be like, oh, what a good read. It was a good story. There was some good drama, but ultimately, happily ever after. Not bad. But it's nice to have that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that. I think that the mom could have been stronger. I hope that they continue this serialized storytelling of telling us why Billy is so important. But overall, I thought it was a pretty entertaining watch, and I really hope that families with kids watch this. I think this is a good one with family. I think that they do really good in telling, having a good moral of the story. In this case, rely on your family. Like, they're here for you. I loved the moment where both the brothers at one point said Russos have each other's back. I was like, oh, that was really good. And I like that kind of stuff. I was reading.
I'm excited to see their relationship too, as now like this now she's gonna be like their sister, and I'm excited to see her become part of this family as well.
That's a good point. Like, you're talking about someone who's coming into an already existing household. That's going to be challenging. Like, where's she going to sleep? Where's she going to go to school? Like, that's a very solid point. Where are her family? Why are I not there? Like, that's going to become something, right?
Yeah. Another thing that, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to say this review summed it up really well. It was the end of the review. They said, Disney has this philosophy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they reboot a show and they're like, that wasn't broke. We ain't gonna change it.
Let's do something similar.
Really well. Yeah, they're like,
yeah.
Let's just it's not even a reboot. It's like
a continuation, relaunch.
Just a sequel. Relaunch, yeah.
Yeah, and it obviously it's still for kids, so they're making it more for that than compared to like what they were gonna do with Lizzie McGuire and some of these other ones. But like you said, if it ain't broke, Raven's Home did so well for them. Like, there's so few shows that last past 4 seasons because kids outgrow things, so they tend to cancel things. Raven's Home, on the other hand, lasted much longer, and I think it was like 6 seasons, I want to say, end up lasting. Another thing that's interesting that I don't think you know about, but again, go watch the original. Oh, Lenny, come on. My doggy is being a little annoying. But another thing, she is being a little nibbly. Let me get her a bone and then this is the interesting facts. I'm leaving you on a cliffhanger, so I'll give you a minute.
Oh no, there's a cliffhanger. Interesting fact.
So in the original, do you know Haley Kiyoko? She did like Lemonade Mouth, but she's a singer. So she was in Wizards of Waverly Place as this like wizard character who's like this rebel type person. She was actually at the premiere of Wizards of Waverly. This one, she went to the premiere. And interestingly enough, they wanted to set up a queer storyline between her and Alex. Like, that was like what they were trying to set up to do. Here we go. Lesbian icon, a lesbian Jesus. And they're trying to set up this queer storyline. So I'm like, oh, now that we're like 20 years and past this, and if going back to Raven's Home, I know I keep comparing it to that, but we have to because it's a very similar situation. Disney Channel actually wanted to make her gay because obviously she's gay in real life. So they're like, oh, do you want to be gay? And she's like, no, not really, because Raven Baxter is not gay. So I don't want to be gay. So I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting to see if they end up doing that queer representation they want to do with Wizards of Waverly Place here, especially because Selena Gomez is not really in the show. So you could kind of just reference it and just be like, oh, there's your queer representation. There's your canon. And I just thought it was very interesting that Haley went to the premiere. Like, why was she there?
Just supporting. good night out with
Uh,
friends.
it definitely could, but it was interesting because the people they picked, like the mom wasn't there, the dad wasn't there, the brother wasn't there. They picked her ex-boyfriend character and they interviewed him. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna be in the shows?" Like, maybe. And then like she's in it. Like she was at the premiere, and they picked like some other like Disney Channel people that were there, like Hannah Montana and stuff like that. But I just thought it was very interesting. I was like, oh, maybe they'll end up doing that. That's cool representation if they do. I won't hold my breath to it, but that'd be kind of interesting.
So I think that's gonna wrap up our discussion. So you watched episode 2. Are you gonna
Yeah.
keep watching? Yeah,
I think I would wait until, yeah.
No, sorry. Go ahead. I thought
I
you
think
said
I would
yes,
wait
you were
in.
gonna keep watching.
I think yes and no. I would wait until I found out, like, oh, this person's returning. I want to watch that episode to see them return. Right. Or I'm like, oh, this episode's good. Let me watch that episode. I don't know if I'd watch every episode. Like, I don't know if I do that because, like, I'm sure there's some filler stuff in there. I'd also be really interested to see what the show looks like in a season 2. Like, I would want to see them get their kinks out in a season 1 and then kind of like see where it goes.
I am currently I started a rewatch of Suits, which have you
It
seen?
seems like
Suits?
a good rewatch for you. No, it's never.
Great.
I'm not a big procedural fan, as you know.
Oh man, I think we need to do a pilot pod for
We
Suits
can.
because
Yeah.
a Suits pilot is 2 parts. It is probably the pilot that we've seen besides Lost. I think it's the pilot that's most indicative of what the rest of the series is going to be. Like, I was describing it to a friend at work today. I was like, you will know. If you don't like this show, by the end of the pilot, that's the show. Like,
I know it's a comfort show for a lot of people.
It is because you know where it's going to go. The characters grow, but they keep their core characterization, so you know kind of what to expect from the characters, which is really nice. So I'm almost done with season 1, but it definitely has a couple heavier things. There are points where you're like, gosh, this person is awful, or man, this is really driving me nuts. So I kind of like the idea of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place being my random, kid version of Emily in Paris. My, turn my brain off and watch it kind of a show in the background. Let the laugh track take me away.
No, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you were surprised by it. I didn't know how you were gonna feel about it. I also didn't know that you didn't watch the original, so
no, I hadn't. There's something easier for me when I'm watching a show on Disney Channel or watching it on Nick or whatever. Is Nick even around anymore? These shows that are like
SpongeBob's still on,
made for kid audiences. It's easier to suspend the disbelief of wow, bad acting, wow, bad writing, wow, bad effects. And not saying that this had any of that by any means, which I was actually really happy about. Like, yeah, the effects were redonkulous, but they were on par with what a middle school kid could enjoy watching and being like, these effects are so dumb, but yet I'm still watching it. Like, there's something kind of fun about that. But it's easier to be like, oh, I'm watching a kid's show. It's like I've been going to a lot of youth musicals recently, been going and seeing a lot of my friends in their shows. And you watch it with a different lens when you're watching a youth show and you're like, oh, they put the box step in their choreography, or oh, they're doing the grapevine, or you're like, oh, that kid tried so hard. You're like, I know that he worked his butt off and he nailed that solo. And I actually have gotten an insane amount of joy over watching these kids musicals because you see how hard they work, especially the kids that I know that are in it and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, I know how hard you worked on that. You worked on that every single day. Or you watch someone else, you go, oh, that kid's going places. Like, that kid, she can go to a college. She will rock that MFA. Like, you know it. And it's so fun to watch because there's just so much joy and there's so much nostalgia for me. And I'm like, I remember that when I did it. Like, I saw Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was in that in 6th grade. I have not seen it, heard it, or touched it since. And as soon as the first notes started playing, Kat, when I say I remembered every single word to every song, I'm not exaggerating. It came back to me
crazy.
Like a flood of memories. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was emotional. And the person next to me, her son was in the show. So she's emotional and I'm crying and she's crying. And I wasn't the only one. There were many parents crying, and many parent adjacent is what I am, crying. But it's nice. It's nice to have a show like this where you can kind of watch and you just get to take back to your childhood a little bit in a way that's not like, oh, I'm watching Star Wars and going back in time. Not
Or
that kind of
doesn't feel
stuff.
like it's skipping a beat either. Because I think a lot of these reboots we've seen, like Fuller House, I hate. I think it's a horrible reboot, because it feels so stagnant. I just didn't like it, and this feels more genuine. It feels like it has a goal. It really does feel like it's targeting people who grew up with the show, who have kids that just want to share it to their kids. And I would love to see again just where these characters go. As I go in and out of it. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm excited to
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
see it grow. Like I genuinely think this could be a really good show in season
Yeah.
2 or 3, just like the original Wizards of Waverly Place. Selena Gomez wasn't the actress she is now in that pilot episodes of Wizards.
Yeah, I love watching things like this grow. All right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us. This was a fun little microsode. We were
Yeah.
excited to chat about this. Kat, what are you up to? Do you have a Kickstarter going on?
I do. I got 2. So I'm a superhero book, like Father Like Daughter. It's about a high school girl, father left her, become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. And we also have In Time for Wicked, Witches of Oz. If you ever want to know Glinda's origins, that's this issue. And also The Wicked Witch and Glinda finally fall in love. So go check out both those books. You could go on my Twitter. Both of them are pretty seen there as well. We have a website now for our comics,
Do you?
lifelinecomics.com. Yeah, I'll have to
Yes.
actually send it to you. It's
That's
cool.
awesome.
So it's live. It looks cool. So I'll put it in the chat also for our patrons, but that's our lifelinecomics.com. That's actually the best place to find us now because we have our news, we have all our books there you could buy. It's
That's
cool.
awesome.
No.
Dude, that's so cool. Yeah, you guys check it out. I have nothing interesting going on. I have no Kickstarters. I have no website. Actually, I do have a website. I just don't remember what it is. I
I was going to say, plug that website.
I think it's amymariehipnoroski.com. Can you spell it? Probably not. But the easiest way is to find me through Instagram, Amy_hip. That's Amy_HYP. I'm not in any theater stuff right now. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna be, but I'm on break right now because turns out when you do 4 full productions in 13 months, you kind of fry your brain a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, I had 2 months off. Like that was it. There were only 8 weeks where I was not actively in a show or performing in a show. And that's actually kind of wild to think about. Really cool, though. Anywho, I think it's going to wrap it up for us. Next week will be Morgan and I. We're going to be talking, hopefully, about Impact Winter, which is the Audible series from Travis Beacham, who is the creator of Carnival Row. We have done reviews of the first 2 seasons. Third season is so far really entertaining. Kat, I wished you liked it because I feel like you
Me too.
love where season 3 is going. Season 2 is lackluster. Season 3 is really good so far. And then I think we're going to do a review of the whole series of Agatha All Along. We actually
I heard people freaking out about it, so.
Oh, I haven't seen. I don't know yet. All I know is that we got an email
in a good
from
way.
Chloe Phillips. And Chloe Phillips said, Agatha All Along update and episode requests. Chloe says, hey, this is Chloe, a frequent listener of the pod. The last time I emailed you was in 2020. I had just graduated high school. As of this past summer, I've graduated college and am living the post-grad
That's crazy.
life. Hey, congratulations.
Congrats.
Chloe says it's actually crazy when I start thinking about how long I've been a fan of your podcast. You guys just put out amazing episodes and commentary. I really enjoyed your Agatha All Along pilot pod, and since the final episode airs this week, I would love to hear your updated thoughts on the entire season. The show has been a delight to watch each week leading up to Halloween, and it's the first show I've watched in a while that got me speculating and trying to figure out the mystery. Chloe also says, Season 5 of Harley Quinn is allegedly airing in November, so I'd love to hear a Season 4 review/recap and maybe some predictions for Season 5. Some other pilot pod requests. Arcane, Season 2 will be released throughout November.
Arcane's a good one.
V.
Oh, nice. That's good, too.
Arcane. What is
I
Gen
saw
V?
Arcane. Gen V is the spinoff of The Boys.
Okay. And then House of the Dragon, which you will not watch.
No, that'll be a week I'm gone.
Chloe, I'll be honest. We have discussed doing House of the Dragon many times, and Morgan and Kat, neither one of them has the willpower to watch it, and I don't have the willpower to be the only one with the willpower. So House of the Dragon may or may not happen. I also am in a let's rewatch comfort shows and shows called Wizards Beyond Waverly Place kind of a mode. So I don't know if I have the emotional stability to do House of the Dragon at the moment. But I've heard Arcane is really good. I realize I probably also
You
don't have
would
the emotional
love
stability for
Arcane.
that, but
No,
that's what I
it's
keep
not
hearing.
a crazy. It's not one that
Death and
it's
murder.
not like a funny show, but like it's not an intense show.
Okay, I think
It's
we
like
should add that to our
actiony.
list.
It's like I think you would like it.
It's animated, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an animated show as well. It's gay.
I'm really
That's why a lot of
excited.
people know about it too.
Excellent. It's popped up. A couple cosplayers have popped up on my Instagram with it.
Yeah, I think you would really
Uh,
like it. I also shouldn't undersell it. I'm just saying it's not that sad. Like I'm there's drama in it, but it's like, you know, it's
I come
not
out
gonna.
crying.
Yeah,
After
I
every
don't think
episode.
you will. I don't think so. I don't know, but
Are there bagpipes playing? If bagpipes are playing, I'll probably be crying.
there might be, honestly. There could be some
Oh, that's funny.
bagpipes.
Anyway, Chloe finishes up the email saying, I'm always excited to listen to your pop culture / movie / TV discussions, so keep it up. Thanks, Chloe. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, it means a lot. We also have Rachel. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Rachel, who's our patron, who's messaging this live, says requesting an Invincible pilot pod. Season 3 is coming up February. Also seen the show. I've actually read all the comics too, so that's not a bad one. So yeah, oh yeah, I've read all those.
This is why I love our pilot pod series, because it gets us to watch shows that we would not, like, you wouldn't really know where to start, and we don't really know how to cover a whole show. But this is great. It gives us a chance to see the first episode and decide whether or not we want to stick with it.
Yeah.
We have a comment on our pilot pod for Sweet Pea from
nice.
Pet Projects 2011. This I love this. Pet Project said, have you thought about doing reviews for the show Firefly? It's just 14 episodes and a movie. Have you? I've watched Firefly.
I've seen it all. Yeah.
Firefly is a cult necessity. I would actually be ashamed if the three of us had not watched Firefly.
I'm pretty sure Morgan has seen it.
I know she has.
Okay, yeah. So all three of us have seen it.
It would be kind of fun to do like a pilot pod flashback.
And I haven't seen it in a really long time. I haven't seen it since high school, probably.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, we were fostering a dog at that point, so this would have been like 10 years ago for me. That might be really fun to go back and see if it holds up. Ooh, you know what? Pet Projects 2011, you're giving us good ideas. But that's going to wrap it up. Remember, you guys can find us online, thelegendaryladies.com. You can find us on Instagram at thelegendaryladies, Twitter, legends_podcast. We love getting emails. That's the most efficient way to get a hold of us, honestly. You can email thelegendaryladies@gmail.com. You can also join our patreon.com/thelegendaryladies. If you are a Patreon by next week, you will literally get 2 episodes recorded in one night, we're hoping. So you never know. Sometimes you can join us live. Sometimes you get episodes early. We're hoping to get out some super cool behind the scenes content soon. But yeah, that's it. Maybe including maybe Kat's most recent convention.
I hope I have enough info with the few hours I was there, but I could do. I think I could do a little Patreon about it.
About and what was the convention, Kat?
I did go to a porn convention for my books and found out I had COVID when I went there.
There's a whole story here, and only Patreon listeners will get to know about it in a couple of weeks because Kat's going out of the country.
I am. Look, that could be a whole nother one. Yeah. Japan.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So we really appreciate all of our listeners. You guys are wonderful. We love getting together and chatting and watching these shows. Please send us your recommendations, things you'd like us to watch or listen to or chat about. We've got some books coming up here we're going to review. So thank you guys so much for sticking around. Remember, next week will be Impact Winter. So it is 7.5 hours of an audio drama. So if you've not started listening, start listening now. But I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for joining and stay legendary.